Yo, 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 good morning, everybody. It is a good morning today. So I'm just going to run through the quick tutorial right here. I had this absolute goat make a post, help, help, help. Hey, y'all, can I get help in this changing color and that smoothness of text, changing the position at the first few seconds? So he's talking about this tutorial here. And what's unfortunate about this tutorial is the start was cool. It was a tutorial for the start, but he didn't actually make it properly, if you know what I mean. Like, he didn't actually, this tutorial doesn't show everything. And so I'm going to show everything for him and help this absolute goat out. And we're actually going to go deep in depth with it because I want to be able to use this in the course just because. All right, so first off, in your After Effects, you're going to start off with a new composition. After you've got that, you're going to right click, new solid layer. Make sure it's 1080 by 1920, which is what I've got the composition size as. Make it black, click OK. Cool. So now you've got your comp to work with. I'm actually going to shorten this comp down to about 6 seconds. And the way you can do that is right click up here, click composition settings, and then change the length. So we'll go 8 seconds, just so that I have something to work with, like a bit shorter. All right, so now after this, you're going to do a new, so up here, right click new text, and then type something in. If you want, you can align it to the center. And if you have caps locks on and you move stuff around, like if you have caps locks on to type and then you move stuff, it won't refresh and show you what you've done. You have to unenable caps locks, just for anyone who's hit that problem before. Now, when you've got this, what I want you to do is to press on P. Now, you've got the position here. Unfortunately, with the position, I'll show you something. If we position it, and then we ease it and try and mess around with the keyframes, what you'll see is you can't actually pull the keyframes. No toggles pull up to pull it. I think it does in the speed. So these toggles, you can in the speed graph, but I personally don't like the speed graph. I like the value graph, but it doesn't let me pull any toggles. So a way around this is to either use the speed graph, or what you're going to do is right click on position and separate the dimensions. So now we've got X and Y. All right, so now that you've separated it, what you can do is duplicate the text more. So we'll go, hey girl, how you doing? So just duplicate it for how many words you want. And then type them all out. Cool. All right, so now that you've typed them, we're just gonna position them real quick. So we'll go, let's see what I've got. You'll grab them by the center. Hey, girl, how you doing? Dope. Perfect, cool. All right, so we've got the text. Always a great thing. So now what you want to do is you've got them all positioned. We're going to animate them now. So highlight them all, click the bottom one, hold shift, click the top one, press on P, click the X and the Y, and it'll make them for all of it. And then click on T, click on it, it'll make it for all of them. And then click U, and it'll open all your keyframes all together. Go over however long you think. You can always adjust this later and add another keyframe for everything. Now, go back to the start, drag the opacity to 0, or keep it at 100 if you want for this step, but I'm just going to eyeball it, and then drag this to the right. Now what you should end up with is this animation on all of them, which is cool. Now what you're going to want to do is highlight them all, click on Easy Ease, so F9, then come into the graph here. And the reason we've kept them all in the same position is that we can just change their graphs all at once, because I know a lot of you don't actually have this plugin flow. So if you click here, it'll actually fit them all into view. And what you're going to do is you want them to come in fast and end slow. So highlight them all. So you've even if you do this, if you click them all, open up, highlight all these keyframes, press on the graph, click here, it'll make them fit, highlight them all, drag these left ones all the way to the left, and if you hold shift, it'll lock them flat. So hold shift, drag them all the way to the left, let go shift, grab these ones, hold shift, drag them all the way over here as well, let go of the click, let go of shift. Now what we should end up with, is a nice little slow to fast. Cool. All right, so now after you do this, you want them to obviously come up at different speeds. So the way we can do this is just move the top ones over like 2. Let's say like 2 frames each. See, I'm a little bit of a fan of that, but not really. I want it to be a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 3 frames each. Yep, cool. And then this is a separate one altogether, so I want it to come in completely later. Yep, cool. All right, so now we've done that. That is nice and easy. Now, I want to show you something else as well. We're just gonna move these to the side for a second. A lot of people would probably think to preset this first and then just change the text. I'm gonna show you why it's not gonna work. If we take these two and we preset them, or pre-compose them, sorry, and then we duplicate this layer, and you go, oh yeah, now I'll just change the words inside here. If we do that, it changes it in both compositions. Now, this is really annoying, and that's why I've got this plugin True Comp Duplicator, and it's a free one as well. If you go into AE scripts, True Comp Duplicator, it's a name your price script, so you can put in 0 and just get it. But what happens is, because of the way it works inside here, if you duplicate it off the bat here and try and edit inside it, it's the same composition. So that's why I haven't done that. That's why we've just stuck with not pre-composing it and like actually editing it first. So I'm gonna pre-compose these two because I want these two to show first, and I'm gonna pre-compose these 3 because I want these 3 later. And with that, you're going to change them both to 3D as well. Now we've got 2 3D layers, and the 3D layer just adds an extra position, you know, moving forward, moving backwards. So that's pretty cool. You know, like that, up and down, side to side, backwards and forwards. Okay, so with this, we now have the camera. So the way that the camera works is it's literally, imagine that you've stuck a camera here and that it's a camera that's covering all of this. So you seen when I made that camera, it actually said it's got the angle view of a camera. So we can you can increase this, and you can mess around with everything, but these are the sets that I use if you want to use them. It's just a 50mm preset, 2-node camera. And so it's literally like a camera pointing. And another thing you can do to see this is if you open this up a bit more, if we go 4 views, so this is what we're seeing. This is where the camera is pointing at, and what's really cool about this is if I show you, so if we change it, so this is what the camera is seeing. So you can imagine this is the camera pointing out, and then this white line right here being the text. And so that's how the camera is moving around. As we move it, that's how it's moving, and that's how it looks up here as well. And then this is how it's moving the other direction, with this line being the text. And so that's how that works. I'm just going to put it back down to 1 view because that's all we really need. And so that's how the camera works. Now, when you've got the camera, you want to add in a null. With the null, you also need to change it to 3D. Now what you're going to do is you're going to move these around. This is how we got that really smooth transition. So we've got, hey girl, how you doing? So we're going to have the hey girl in the center first. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move the hey girl closer to the camera. And then I'm going to move the how you doing further away from the camera. And I'm going to put him completely out altogether down the bottom. Just completely out of the way so you can't even see him. So, hey girl, how you doing? All right, so now that we have moved the words out of the way and you've 3D'd the null, what you're gonna do is parent both of the text pre-compositions to the null. Now, the reason we've got the null is if I move this null, it's basically moving the camera and moving the way that the camera looks. Instead of having to actually position the camera or position these, all I gotta do is move the null and everything moves with it. Now, before we do anything with the null, we're gonna right click on the position again and separate the dimensions. Add a keyframe for all of them, and press R and add an orientation keyframe, and then press U and it should all open up. Now, after you have done this, what you're going to do is come over to the about just towards the end of where the girl comes up or where your text comes up, add more keyframes, come over a couple more, like a lot more frames, and then just position the null so that the other text comes into view. And so now when you do this, it's going to keep adding more new keyframes, and you're going to want to zoom in on it as well using the X position. So you can imagine this as you moving the camera in your hands. And so the other text is up here, you've walked past it, and now you're zooming on this, which was behind it. And if you want, add another orientation keyframe. And so now you can imagine this comes up, this zooms down to here. And then we could even, if you really wanted to, make it flat at the side. And now, for an extra layer of depth, we can add orientation. So the orientation keyframes you already added, what you do is you just mess around with them. Like, it's literally just basically like twisting the text. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this come to... It's really just play with the orientation how you want. I'm going to have it come to like -5 as it comes into the hey girl. And then as it comes down, I'm going to have it go up to 3. And it's also, I also want it to kind of twist in just a little bit. I'm going to have it go to 11 actually. And so as you mess around with this, you play with the keyframes. So it's kind of like a hey girl. And even so, we can move this out of the way too. So then it comes in like, hey girl, how you doing? And it comes out again. And we go like -1. And then he spins out, or even -11. And then he should spin out. Yep, cool. So it's really all just preference. But now as you see, it's moving around. If we play this back, it's moving, which is cool. And so highlight all of these. F9 into the graph editor. This is where it gets super duper fun. What you can do, what we're going to do is we need to find the center between these keyframes. If you click on it, it'll show you where the center is with these 2 white lines. Either go on it or to the left and right of it, doesn't really matter. Or just go on it even. Yeah, try and get on it. Drag these. Now you got to be careful. You see, as I'm dragging these, it's dragging these as well. We don't want that. Well, you gotta. It's a bit of a tricky thing just to kind of mess around with, really. So get back to this. Want to get to the center. And you're just going to move each and every one over to the center like this. It is going to be a bit of a pain in the ass because you see, and you see it's even doing it now. Very painful, very painful. It's very annoying. One of my least favorite features of all of this. The orientation. Don't actually easy orientation. I just realized. If you have, just highlight all the keyframes again. Hold control and then click on one of them and it'll get rid of it. The orientation kind of eases itself, really. It's not a necessary thing to ease. And so we've got those done. We've got these done. They didn't move. Now we'll come over to the center here. Okay, so I'm gonna... You see it? It moved those 2. It's not what we want. A good way is to click on the square instead of the actual box itself. I don't know why they added it as a feature. In my opinion, it's one of the dumbest things in the entire thing, but I mean, it is what it is. All right, so we're gonna move all these. So the way I'm positioning these is it should come in a bit slow, move a bit fast, come back out a bit slower. And so we do it one more time. Drag them both to the center. One last time and on the red one because the blue one's not moving anymore. Now, it is really fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out and we're going to highlight them all, hold Alt, drag the bottom right one, and you see it'll actually spread them all out. Now, the reason it looks so choppy is because I haven't messed around with the orientation very much, which is, you know, completely my fault. I mean, I can mess around with the orientation if you want, but it'll take forever. Really, it'll look pretty nice without the orientation, but orientation adds another field of depth, and I'm too slack to mess around with it because orientation probably takes the longest to mess around with out of everything. So for me, this is fine. So that's how we got that smooth movement. It's with the camera. And so, after you have done that, and you've added those keyframes, and you've got all this down, you have now technically got this, which is cool. After this, you want to add 3 adjustment layers. So you can add one, and then press Control D, and it should duplicate them. Now, on the bottom one, we're going to add a deep glow. Change the exposure to 0.5, and then add a drop shadow, just the normal drop shadow, and leave it how it is. On the second one, you're going to add a motion blur, the force motion blur, and just leave it at its normal settings. And then on the top one, you're going to add an invert effect. And you're going to add a keyframe and then change the blend to original to 100. Now, press U on the blend to original, and then come down here on the null and press U again. Find these keyframes right here, match the invert 100% keyframe to whatever keyframe it starts moving to the other one. Now what you're going to do is you're going to add another keyframe to where it ends up on the other one, and you're going to swap it back down to 0. And so now you've got 2 keyframes. Now as you split between, it changes color. And that's how he made it change color. It's just he had black and white text, I've got black and blue, so it changes it to red. And so that's how he's done that. And you can even come across and do it again. And so now that we've done that, what you should end up with is some moving text that has some cool motion blur, that is glowing, and did change color. And boom, we are all done. And obviously, you know, mess around with the keyframes, play with it however you want, but that is how that is done, and I think it looks fucking sick as, to be honest, in my opinion. It is actually a really cool effect. And so if you have any questions, please leave them below so that I can answer them, because if I missed anything, I would really like to know. All right, well, have a good one.